this video, I am going to show you how to go from chaos to full turn on and how to rewire your body to hold more. My name is Morgan, and I help powerful, intuitive women become the woman whose body, energy, and presence magnetizes love, money, and freedom without the burnout, the self-betrayal, or the subconscious self-sabotage. I created this class because I'm tired of seeing powerful women spiral into chaos when they are trying to manifest a life and business that turns them on. I want to share the very thing, well, the two things that helped me go from cycles of chaos to a life full of turn on with lasting results in my manifestations. At the end of this training, if you want to go deeper, I will tell you about the Temple of the Sovereign Siren, where you will learn to wake up as the woman who always has her desires and gets to live a life of turn on without having to spiral into cycles of chaos, anxiety, and overwhelm. This is my reality now, but it hasn't always been that way. I actually used to call myself the chaos coordinator. There was always chaos for as long as I can remember. It actually became a part of my brand when I was selling makeup. I wore it like a badge of honor. And I had just accepted that with my life came chaos. Then came my spiritual awakening. And being a psychic medium and learning healing modalities and energy work, I began to identify as a chaos witch. I learned about manifestation, created a business, and decided it was time to scale it. And yet every single time I started to gain momentum in my business, a crisis would hit. Sometimes it was something that I created without realizing it. Sometimes it was something totally out of my control. But it always came right at the moment when I was about to have that breakthrough. I'm gaining momentum, starting to see the signs, and then bam, crisis, chaos. I started thinking maybe I need a new manifestation method, more strategy in my business, or relationship therapy. I manifested that I would find a way to channel my energy more powerfully, and I was binge watching tips on manifestation that promised huge results. That is when I discovered the O method. It was like the fog had been lifted. I decided to try to manifest a place to move into with my 4 kids so that I could leave my toxic relationship. That night, I met a woman who connected with me over a similar experience of separation with her husband. She offered me and my children to move into her house because she just wanted to see a single mom make it. All she asked is that I participate in household chores and occasionally cook dinner and help with groceries. I was so excited. I felt so powerful. It worked, and it didn't work in days and months later. It was hours later. This was going to be the solution to all of my problems, the method that would change it all. And then I was faced with the very thing I was manifesting, and I was terrified. I knew this is what I needed to do, without a doubt, but I was scared of being alone and taking that step and moving out. So just 3 days later, while I was waiting to hear back from her, I checked in to see if we're still good, and she told me it wasn't gonna work out. Just gotten in a terrible car accident, and her daughter was coming to take care of her, and her ex was most likely moving back in. I told myself it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't the right timing, and I continued to use the O method for everything I was manifesting. I began to notice that this was a pattern. I was manifesting opportunities for everything I desired in hours to days, but before it could actually play out, it somehow slipped away, just as chaos and crisis ensued. I began to get curious and asked to be shown exactly why. I knew that my reality was a reflection of my inner world, and I would manifest from where I was, but I thought that because I was doing the inner work and shadow work to heal, that my manifestations were clear, and I didn't understand where the disconnect was until I was introduced to the nervous system, and I began to connect the dots. I had discovered a powerful way to manifest through my pleasure and the creation energy of sex, but my body didn't feel safe to hold the level of freedom and expansion that I was calling in yet. So no matter how powerfully I manifested, the crisis came with the manifestation because I was already manifesting from a state of crisis. My system braced against the overflow, unable to hold it. What changed everything was learning to regulate my nervous system so I could make decisions and manifestation from regulation and intuition instead of fear and subconscious patterns. I started to become aware of the exact moments I braced, the moments I tensed, the moments I silenced myself, and didn't say what I wanted to, and I learned how to expand into the discomfort and into my sovereignty instead of collapsing. The O method became a portal for my manifestation, but it was only a part of the puzzle, because the way that you expand into pleasure sexually is the same way you expand into pleasure in life. Sexual energy is creation energy. It's life force. Your sexual experience is a reflection of your trust in the masculine energy and your relationship to pleasure, surrender, control, and desire. When you heal your relationship and trust to the masculine energy, the expansion and creation of the feminine energy is the natural result. When that is channeled intentionally through the O method, it creates both in the physical realm, if you're having a baby, but also in the energetic realm. If you're holding your breath during orgasm, or if you are performing instead of receiving, if you're rushing to the finish line, your nervous system is actually practicing contraction instead of expansion. And that is exactly what shows up in your business, in your relationships, and in your money. When I learned how to feel safe in the very sensations that my body used to resist, the shame, the guilt, the pleasure, the surrender, and the desire, everything shifted and my manifestations were finally coming in. And when I regulated my nervous system and expanded into those desires, to the overflow, I stopped losing what I manifested and I could finally hold it. That's the work we do inside the Temple of the Sovereign Siren. If you take a moment and think about every time you started manifesting more, what actually showed up for you? Did you end up manifesting more? Or did you end up manifesting more of the very thing that you were trying to manifest out of? The wrong men, more fighting in your relationship, situations and scenarios that made you wrestle with the feeling of not enough or too much, chaos, crisis. It's kind of that feeling like every time things start to go well, shit hits the fan. And if you relate to this, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. The timing is not off. You don't need more strategy. Your nervous system is just braced against the very thing that you say you want. So here's what's really happening. Your nervous system is there to protect you, and it is still coded for survival, not overflow. This is especially true for those of us that have trauma. So that is why right before the big clients come in, there's a sudden crisis. Right before the relationship gets serious, you pick a fight or he feels vulnerable and pulls away. And then right after the $10,000 month, an emergency drains it. So right now, you think you need stronger magic, different method, more consistency, therapy, or a business strategy. But the truth is, you could be mentored by a top business coach in the industry and have the perfect funnel, or work with the most well-known relationship therapist and learn to communicate your needs to your partner. And none of that sticks until your body learns how to hold more. So right now, you're in cycles that you don't even realize. You go all in, then something happens and you collapse back into the old story. You swing between control and surrender, hoping one of them finally works. You get overwhelmed by everything that you want, so instead of working on the thing that actually moves the needle, you clean your house, you reorganize your altar, or journal for hours. And it looks productive, but it's actually a freeze response. And in your body, the same thing happens with pleasure. You're actually contracting at the exact moment that you should be expanding, and your life continues to mirror that. You contract in the very moment that you're meant to receive. Life mirrors that. And this isn't because you're not aligned, it's because your body doesn't believe that it's safe to hold the more that you are calling in. So no matter how hard you visualize, journal, or manifest, your body will keep bracing and keep creating chaos, pulling you back into the cycles until you expand your capacity. Here's the edge. Survival and pleasure can't coexist in the same body. When you're wired for survival, pleasure feels unsafe. And if you can't hold pleasure, you can't hold overflow. That's why the work isn't about doing more to get the overflow, it's about teaching your body to hold more. So I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine the one thing that you want the most right now. Begin to visualize how it feels coming into your life. It's coming in, you can feel it. You just got that text message, the money deposited into your account, you just got the email, whatever it is. Now notice, did you soften into it? Or did you contract and kind of brace in your chest, in your stomach? You may not notice it now, but in your lived experience, in everyday life, your decisions and your thought patterns are coming from your subconscious. And if your subconscious is still bracing, your nervous system is still bracing, it's sending a signal it's not safe. That's the block. This is exactly what I guide women through inside the Temple of the Sovereign Siren. Through my Sovereign Siren method, we are combining nervous system regulation, divine feminine embodiment, and masculine energetic balance with erotic embodiment so that you learn to expand into pleasure instead of collapsing. And from this new frequency, you can channel your most magnetic energy to call in your deepest desires and create lasting results from your turn on. Through intuitive one-on-one work, I can see the exact moment that your body braces and help you create awareness, alchemize it, and expand your capacity to hold it all. So instead of manifesting chaos and crisis, you become the woman who holds the love, the money, and the devotion with ease. You create a life full of turn on from your own pleasure. If you're ready to start, click the link below and apply. You don't need stronger magic. You need a nervous system that trusts it's safe to hold more, and then you can become the last ritual you will ever need.